March 25th, Tuesday, the Annunciation of the Lord. Luke chapter 1, verses 26 to 38. Reflection by Reverend Father Clifford Atta Anim. Kindly subscribe to support the channel. The Solemnity of the Annunciation, a celebration of God's promise and Mary's Fiat. The Solemnity of the Annunciation is commemorated exactly 9 months before the Nativity of Christ, a feast that predates it historically. On this sacred day, we recall the moment when the Archangel Gabriel appeared to the Blessed Virgin Mary, declaring God's divine plan for her to become the mother of the Messiah. In her humble obedience, Mary responded with her wholehearted fiat, "Let it be done to me according to your word." Luke 1:38. At that very moment, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. John 1:14. This feast is often called Little Christmas because it marks the miraculous beginning of the Incarnation, God taking on human flesh to dwell among his people. The Annunciation is not only a cause for joy, but a pivotal event in salvation history, fulfilling God's promise to redeem humanity. As Venerable Fulton J. Sheen insightfully wrote, "Divinity is always where one least expects to find it." Life of Christ, page 27. Just as Jesus was born in a lowly manger rather than a royal palace, so too did God choose a humble maiden, Mary, to be the vessel through which salvation would come into the world. Her humility and faith made her worthy to bear the Creator of the universe. Even today, we experience moments of annunciation in our lives. When a doctor informs a woman of her pregnancy, it becomes a moment of joy, much like the good news Gabriel brought to Mary. This reminds us that God continues to work in human lives, calling each of us to embrace his plan with trust and obedience. The celebration of the Annunciation dates back to the early centuries of Christianity. In the Eastern Church, it was observed as early as the 5th century, particularly around the time of the Council of Ephesus in 431 AD, which affirmed Mary as the Theotokos, the God-bearer. Historical records from Abraham of Ephesus between 530 and 533 AD also reference this feast. In the Western Church, the first known mention appears in the 7th century, formally setting March 25th as the date, exactly 9 months before Christmas. The Annunciation is deeply rooted in God's promises throughout salvation history. The first promise to Adam and Eve. After the fall, God gave the first prophecy of salvation, known as the Proto-Evangelium. "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." Genesis 3:15. This prophecy finds its fulfillment in Jesus, born of the Virgin Mary, who ultimately defeats Satan. The Annunciation is deeply rooted in God's promises throughout salvation history. The first promise to Adam and Eve. After the fall, God gave the first prophecy of salvation, known as the Proto-Evangelium. "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." Genesis 3:15. This prophecy finds its fulfillment in Jesus, born of the Virgin Mary, who ultimately defeats Satan. The covenant with King David. Through the prophet Nathan, God promised David, "I will raise up your offspring to succeed you, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever." 2 Samuel chapter 7, verses 12 to 16. Jesus, as a descendant of David, fulfills this prophecy by establishing an eternal kingdom. The prophecy of Isaiah to King Ahaz. In today's first reading, Isaiah proclaims, "The virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall name him Emmanuel." Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. This prophecy is directly fulfilled in Mary, who conceives Jesus by the power of the Holy Spirit. The second reading, Hebrews chapter 10, verses 4 to 10, highlights the purpose of Christ's incarnation, perfect obedience to the Father, leading to his sacrificial death on the cross and his glorious resurrection. The Gospel reading, Luke chapter 1, verses 26 to 38, presents the Annunciation scene, where Mary's yes to God's will sets into motion the fulfillment of salvation. Life lessons from the Annunciation. Like Mary, we must strive to do God's will. The Annunciation reminds us that saying yes to God is an act of faith and trust. Mary accepted God's plan without knowing all the details, setting an example for us to follow. Not my will, but yours be done, Luke 22:42, should be our daily prayer. St. Augustine wisely reminds us God created us without us, but he does not will to save us without us. Sermon 169, CCC number 1847. Gratitude for God's love and mercy. Mary's song, the Magnificat, Luke 1:46-55, expresses profound gratitude to God. As God's children, we too should recognize his blessings and grace in our lives. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever, Psalm 107:1. Being instruments of Christ's presence. Just as Mary carried Jesus within her, we are called to let Christ dwell in us and shine through our lives. Christ in you, the hope of glory, Colossians 1:27. By our acts of love, service, and kindness, we radiate his presence to the world. May this solemnity remind us of the power of saying yes to God, trusting in his divine plan, and allowing Christ to be born anew in our hearts every day. God bless you.